Hello there everyone, welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and today we are back at the workbench, or I guess we are at the workbench for the second time now, and this is the first video that I've done post-rant, post-reviews. We're going to be cleaning up this late 80s, early 90s Korean-made Squier Stratocaster. I want to say these were made from 1988 to 1992. It's like 88, 89, somewhere in there. This would have been the budget brand of the day. Obviously being made in Korea and having a lot of budget parts. You know, you got the trapezoid-shaped tuning machines that, you know, are a little flimsy. Like you got one of those guys there that is falling out with the little collar. And then, God, yeah, just look at how much this guy has been through the ringer. You got just various scuffs, dings, scratches, dust. One of my favorite parts is you can actually see the separation, if I get the angle on that right, between the neck and the heel. There's just like, you could fit probably like a $50 in there. So, we're going to do a big run through on this thing, clean it up, see if we can't get it to play nicely. I mean, as far as I can tell, the neck on it isn't super wonky. I think we're going to check the electronics first, just make sure it's all functional. Literally the only thing that I've done to this thus far, after picking it up, was just loosen the strings so there wasn't so damn much tension on the neck, exacerbating this problem. Oh my god, you can actually kind of see just like more and more finish, dings and imperfections and scuffs and the cutaways there. God, this is one of those guitars where the longer you look at it, the worse it gets, so I think we're just going to kind of get into this thing. So you'll have to forgive the mess just a little bit. This workbench has been definitely seeing a lot of action lately, having moved into this place fairly recently, but first off, I'm just going to check electronics and make sure everything is working all right. So 3 knobs, 5-way switch, we got a volume. Ooh. So something's already going on with, let's see, I think. So we got volume. Okay, so bridge, middle, neck. That is in the bridge position. Pots are definitely going to need to be cleaned. Yep, and then tone. This is either wired so that the bridge position is all the way open, which is fairly common, or the tone's not working, but we'll see. Let's see. So you got volume on the middle and the bridge, and let's see if this tone works now. Okay, so yeah, bridge would be all the way open then, that's pretty typical. You got the second position, that's wired correctly, so that's bridge and middle. We got the middle position. Yep, that's working good. And then we got the fourth position, which is the middle and neck, that is working. Okay, so the switch itself. The switch, I think, is having some issues. Might need to reflow some solder. All of the pots are definitely going to need some amount of deoxit for sure. So the electronics, mostly workable. That's a good sign. I imagine they're probably still stock electronics. We'll see how that goes. So, I've got a second camera over here, the GoPro on the bench. I'm hoping that maybe gives a more insightful angle into a little bit of what I was doing. I would have used that on the electronics test, but I have 3 outlets over here, and then another couple outlets over there. The only ones that'll reach are these 3 over here, so that is what I've got for this camera. It is what it is. Make it work. Anyway, order of operations, I always like to get started with electronics because worst thing to happen is if you just kind of run through this whole thing and you end up finishing up your project and it's all good looking and it plays great, and then you go and you plug it in and everything's screwed electronically. So I always like to start there. Next up, obviously, I think it's just to get the strings off of this thing. Also, can't recommend one of these enough. The little Ernie ball like screwdrivers or drills, but it's like only for strings, it will save your wrist so much. Let's see, these are already mostly off, but I kind of don't like to take too many chances when it comes to rusty strings, because you just kind of never know. And I've had tetanus shots, so I should be fine, but pricking yourself with these things, you just never know. So I kind of just like to cut those all at once. We already have tension off the neck, so it shouldn't really hurt anything. And then I'll just kind of come up here and, ooh, Jesus Christ. It's fun when you can kind of tell that the last person who did this, like, yeah, they fucking pops all the way right off. Last person who strung this thing up, maybe not super knowledgeable on what exactly they were doing. The gentleman that I got this from was a drummer. He said it was his cousin's before I had it, or before he had it. And I'm not sure if he strung it up or if the cousin or maybe his uncle had messed with it. So you gotta just kind of get the damn strings off. There we go. Oh my god. This is just kind of what happens sometimes. You'll get strings that are so old and the last person to string it up did such a poor job that when you go to take the old ones off, they kind of just don't want to go anywhere. I like to use these guys. There's little, I got like a handful of StewMac tools, and honestly, most of them are pretty good. Can't complain. But yeah, it is nice to just kind of yoink off a string that way with some rounded pliers. So, got those off, and then get these old strings out through here. And those are all pretty stuck in there, which is not surprising. I kind of just like to, let's see. I'm going to just take off this back cover with a drill. You may say it's overkill, but you know, sometimes it's just nicer to get this shit off quickly. And frankly, this guitar, like I said, is a budget brand, which is fine. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. But on the list of things that aren't necessarily sacred, a budget brand guitar from the 1980s, not super sacred. There's kind of a mentality that you get when you've worked music retail after a certain amount of time. You'll kind of realize that none of this stuff is really sacred. Like, yes, it's cool. And you should treat your gear with some amount of respect because, you know, you want it to stay in good shape. You want to make sure that this is usable for a long time. But, with that being said, some things are kind of just unavoidable. Where, like this guitar over time, the likelihood that someone was going to buy a budget brand guitar in the 1980s and take very excellent care of it, not let it get to this condition, pretty low. It's like buying like one of those Affinity Series Squiers nowadays. In another 20 to 40 years, most of the ones that are sold are going to be sold to people who think they want to get into playing guitar. And, you know, maybe some of them make some progress, some won't. And at the end of the day, a lot of these are going to sit in a closet or in a corner for a decade or more, and eventually go back up for sale by someone who just wants to get rid of them. That's where people like me come in. Say, well, I would love to pick up your guitar. I can come right now and pay you cash. And it ends up in this kind of condition, and you just got to run through it and see if you can't unscrew it. Now, luckily, this one is a pretty good basis. It's kind of a great example of like how far gone a guitar can get, but also how far a guitar can come back from. There's this one last stubborn string in here. I kind of like to just jam something else in here. Usually, it's that the ball on these gets kind of rusted out, and it gets jammed into the actual block on the bridge. So you kind of just stick like an Allen key or something small enough to fit in there, just to sort of crack it loose. But let's see. Worst case scenario is it busts off in there, but usually does not happen. Ooh. That guy is real stuck in there. This is another great place where these rounded off tweezers can kind of help, or these rounded off pliers. But yeah, that guy is pretty well wedged in there. So what do we got? No, that's going to be too thick. Maybe a smaller size. Maybe we'll use a smaller size Allen key and see what happens. Well, it's falling. Oh. Did it do anything? Come on, buddy. My goodness. Now, in this event, I'm going to try some good old-fashioned WD-40 and kind of throw a little in there and pray a little bit. You know, I should probably own some of that PB penetration oil. It's good stuff. Used it on cars a bunch when I was working on cars. Oh, hey, I think that's moving a little better. Oh my goodness. Oh. We're getting some movement in here. It's really trying. Yes! WD-40 really can work some nice miracles. And I think it's especially great for lubing up bridge parts. It's one of those things where I started using WD-40 on stuff like this, not necessarily always knowing if it was going to be the best move, but you know, every time I use it, it ends up being exactly what I needed it to be. So I kind of can't complain. So I suppose first up, now that we got the strings out, is just attempting a cleanup. So we'll go from there. I'm assuming they have like the little spanner wrenches to pull these off, but I find that just taking these little flat wrenches and sort of jamming them under the knobs tends to work just fine. You usually don't break anything. Sometimes you get unlucky, but you know what? Knobs are particularly cheap. It's not a huge deal. You can just get more knobs. So I'm going to pop this pick guard off. And we're going to just kind of go from there. It looks like the screws on the pick guard and on the back plate are the same, so I don't really mind mixing those together. And we're going to see if we can clean up this pick guard. If that's not the case, I do have, if I can shift some stuff around up here, I do have a replacement pick guard that I got off of like Amazon. It's just kind of a aged white. It's actually a little bit darker than the old one and almost matches the body color more than the old pick guard color. So it might look a little bit funny, but I think it's actually going to turn out really nicely if that is the route that I have to go. I suspect a lot of the grime and scratches and crap that's on this pick guard are just kind of going to be on there. So I'm really not going to get too caught up about it. At the end of the day, we are cleaning this thing up to make it play nicely, make someone want it. Because I don't think I'm going to be keeping this one. Might surprise me, though. I find I like the necks on these quite a bit, but the bodies usually aren't anything special, because it's just like a plywood body. Like, literally, we're going to pull this thing up, and you'll see it's plywood. Yep. This guy is definitely... Yeah, it looks all original to me. That's about what I was expecting. So, oy, 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 oy. Let's just see. We got a bunch of cleaning supplies over here. Sometimes you buy guitars and you get used stuff, and people have bought cleaning and maintenance items for their own guitars. And so sometimes you get strings, sometimes you get cleaning supplies. So right now I've got this Dunlop 65, the guitar polishing cleaner that I've kind of just been burning through. Because when you get stuff like this, you just run through it. There's also kind of no such thing as too much of this shit. Like, it's not like you're you know, we're trying to clean the thing off, but you know, it's not like you're running it through the dishwasher or some crap like that. Like, it's not gonna hurt it if you use if you go a little bit heavy on that polish and cleaner. And don't worry if this does still kind of look like crap for a little bit. We're gonna make a few passes. God, wow. The pick marks on this thing are dramatic, frankly. It's the only way I could describe that. I also like to pull the pick guard up when I do this wipe because the amount of crap that gets under here. It's like not cleaning out your fingernails, you know? You gotta get under there. Because who knows what kind of years of smegma and rot have gotten under this thing. You just want to kind of clean it up. And this workbench is a little light, so it shakes a bit. I'm hoping that looks okay on the footage, but it is what it is. Oh man. Wow, there's a really visible line if you look underneath this pick guard where it's aged, where like the sun and it being in the sun underneath the pick guard have faded the paint. It's kind of cool actually, but yeesh. Yeah, there's some of this that I just don't think is going to come off, and frankly, I am kind of curious to see how this comes together with this new shade of like tan. They can kind of see next to each other. This guy is about the same color as the body, whereas this is much more white, which is fine. And, you know, some people might want it more original or whatever, but when you're talking about a guitar that is probably going to sell for like 200 to 300 bucks, I don't really think it's going to matter too much to too many people what color the pick guard is, as long as it's not like some horrifically hideous thing. So I think we're going to gut this pick guard and move all of the hardware over to the new one and see how that looks. Because, you know, I already bought the pick guard. Why not? We're already here. We're here to have fun. It's supposed to be a good, fun time. Now the question is, did I get a pick guard with the matching amount of screw holes? I suppose it doesn't matter that much. Let's see, bam, bam, bam. Looks correct. Is that an 11 hole? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Yeah, that should be correct. Okay, and we got some new screws here in case anything is wrong with those old ones. And, you know, I kind of just like to use a little screwdriver. I've got the Stumac one. Kind of poke holes through this preemptively. Maybe take a razor blade to it as well, we'll see. But yeah, this is kind of cutting the chaff and getting to this stuff before you need to worry about it. Oh, there's a plastic film on this too. Okay. I guess that makes sense. Bam, bam, bam. Yes, very good. Outstanding. Alright, that's kind of... Yeah. Oh, you know what? I think that's going to look sexy. I think this is going to be a pretty handsome color combination. I think that might be a little bit of a subjective thing. Some people might think it looks very ugly, but I kind of like an ugly guitar. Not so ugly, but like, you know, it can have a little character. That's fine. It's a bit of a treat. And I'd say there's no right or wrong way to do this at this stage, just because it's kind of just little time-consuming things. Just kind of getting where you want to go. Let's see, I am going to take a picture just of these wires, just so I can kind of figure out, just in case. Because we've got a red wire for this neck pickup, got a gray wire for the middle, and a green for the bridge. So if I take these all out, and they're kind of a spaghetti mess, if you will, I won't necessarily get confused to the order on where these things are supposed to go. So we're just gonna take this all apart. And not super worried about this. These pickups, I do not think are particularly high-end. But who knows, maybe I'll be surprised. I don't remember which Alnico. I think these are an Alnico set of pickups. I don't remember which one, if there's like a 3 or a 4 or a 2 or whatever. It's been a while and I don't exactly remember the specific ins and outs of your general pickup fucking methodology or general design practices. It doesn't really matter is what I'm getting at. Well, it kind of matters. I'm hoping I'm doing this in a way that's not going to make anyone explode in the comments, but if you have suggestions as to better or more efficient ways to get this stuff done, I'd love to hear it. Or if you have little ideas for accessories I could pick up to kind of like hurry up or speed along the process of swapping out these kinds of parts, love to hear it, but you know, just one of those things. Okay. These screws to hold in the switch are a little different, so I kind of want to make sure I don't fuck with those too much. There we go. And we can kind of just be free of this old pick guard. Woo! Definitely be saving the screws and the springs for the pickups. They are going to be, whoo, that's what I expected. A little nasty, a little rusty, a little gross, but that's okay. At the end of the day, it's what fits these, and that's fine. No big deal. Let's see. And that is the old, very dirty pick guard. I'm hoping this comes through nicely on video because, I mean, it looks pretty damn bad in person. There's just kind of crap all over this thing. And I think, you know, if I spray this thing off a little bit, or if I grab some alcohol wipes or something, I'm sure I could probably get it a little cleaner. Oh, and with that, I've actually snapped part of it. Pretty classic. Oh my god, I didn't even look at the back side of this. There's just all this miscoloration and crap on here. Jesus. Well, in case I need another one, it's always good to kind of keep scrap parts around, so throw that on the floor for now. Eventually it'll find a home in the parts bins around here. Oh yeah, okay. You know, I don't normally kind of lay out parts like this, or like this is kind of not how I would normally do this, is what I'm getting at. At least it'd be kind of like this, but yeah, this is kind of cool. You can sort of get a little look-see in there, and you can see some of the discoloration from the old pick guard. It's just one of those neat little looks, because I don't usually swap out pick guards unless they really need it, like in the case of this one, but let's see. While we're here, I'm going to use some deoxit. This one's a little low, but I got another can, so it's not a huge deal. We got this kind of enclosed switch, so I'm going to just kind of spray this shit in there and work this on the 5-way switch. And I'm assuming this might not work completely, because it's, you know, a switch. It's a little more complicated than a pot, or at least complicated in a different way. So we're going to spray the pots down now. Oh yeah, there we go. It's already feeling a lot cleaner. And spin that feller around. And a lot of people just are like, oh yeah, you just need a little touch of deoxit, you don't need much. But you might as well just bathe the damn thing if you want. Because it's not one of those things that is going to hurt if you use too much. The only thing you're really doing by wasting deoxit is maybe you'll have to buy more deoxit a little bit more often than most, which It's not a crime, you know. It's just one of those things that doing more often is maybe a bit of a bummer on your wallet, but shit, you know, if it's not one of those things that is just nice to be able to do, like just dumping deoxit in this thing, you know, I might... This bridge is going to have to come off at some point here soon, but I'm not going to worry about that too much right now. We're just going to get the pick guard stuff sorted out first, I think. Get this all installed, call it good to go there, and then move on probably to taking apart the bridge, cleaning it out, and then I think we'll do the neck. But so far so good. Kind of sort of zhuzh these in here. Obviously, like I said, this is not how I would normally do this, but, you know, you kind of make it work with whatever you're doing anyway, and it's fine. It's fine. Not a huge deal. Looks like the fitment on this might be a little funny, but I'm not super worried about it. We got the, for tightening stuff back up, I usually like to use a screwdriver, not necessarily a drill. Kind of depends, but yeah, that switch is not beveled around the inside, so I might have to get some screws that are flat on the bottom, or take this drill and fucking pull that up. Oh, actually, this still has the plastic film on it. Pull that up so I don't have to deal with that later. Yes, yes, beautiful. Is there another layer of it? I think there's another layer of plastic film. There sure is. Yup, there it is. Okay. It's interesting how they do that. There you go. And yes, I could wait until I'm done to peel that all off, but, you know, you'd have to take off a lot of the nuts and crap that you'd already put back in it, throwing in the pots and the pickups and stuff. So it's kind of not super worth it. Like, you just want to knock this shit out, right? Well, same issue with the pickup screws. The bottoms are beveled, but the pick guard is flat. For now, I'm not super worried about that. Mostly just want to get this installed and go from there. And frankly, I don't think it's really going to matter too much. Again, these are not sacred instruments. It's not like it's a 1960-something Strat or whatever. You know what? Before I put those pickups back in, they're a little bit gross around the sides. So I'm actually going to take a second. Jeez. Just sort of wipe those off. Oh my god. I'm actually going to grab the alcohol, which I have over here, off camera, and you'll never know what it looks like. Let's see. Just kind of flip it over like you're, you know, getting a little bandage or a little bit of alcohol on like a wound or something. Oh my god, yeah, that gets stuff off so nicely. Alcohol might be a little bit caustic, maybe not the best for plastic, but you know, it gets so much of this crap off so quickly, and it generally doesn't harm too much. It's like, what is this? 91% isopropyl alcohol, first aid antiseptic. It cleans beautifully, and if it's good enough for the human skin, I think it's fine enough for a guitar. I think, you know, there is room for debate on that. But at the end of the day, I think it just kind of depends. This is probably not a... This is probably a polyurethane finish, if I were to wager. I don't think... I mean, there's some checking on it, but I don't think it's a... God, it's a polyurethane finish, and what is the other kind? A lacquer finish would be the other kind of finish for a guitar, and I don't think this is a lacquer. I think it's a poly finish. I could be wrong. Might have been something different in the late 80s, but I don't think it was lacquer. And... yeah, I think rubbing alcohol should be okay in some cases. I'm not saying, you know, there's been a few times where I've worked on guitars that were just completely sticker bombed, and that is one of the exceptions where I'd say, yeah, just like go to town with the isopropyl alcohol. But that's why I dab it on the rag first and then kind of get in there, because I think this is a good way to kind of mitigate how much you use. And it works great. Like, I kind of can't complain. I've worked on a few hundred guitars at this point on my own, without counting the couple of years I spent in music retail. And realistically, I've really never seen any reason to be too worried about rubbing alcohol as something you can use to clean guitars. In fact, I'm probably going to use a decent amount of rubbing alcohol on the bridge once I get it off. That and WD-40. Probably a little bath and soak in alcohol, and then WD-40 to kind of get things moving again. And then, yeah, I think I'm going to pop these puppies back on. If I can get this out and leave the pickup cover on. There we go. It's tempting to swap the pickup covers on these too, because they are a little more faded, but I think it kind of gives it more character. So not super worried about that. Getting these screws back on, so it's going to be a little bit annoying, but whatever. Okay, that's fine. And this fella out of here. And we can pop that guy on there. Screw this back on. Okay, good. That is threaded. Get this other screw. Get this fella threaded. Yes. Yes. Alright, that is so far one. And we'll worry about specific pickup height in a minute. Again, I might go and find some flat bottom screws at some point, just to kind of keep things consistent. But again, I'm not super worried about it, because cheap guitar is a cheap guitar. That being said, these guitars have a little cult following, and I'm not trying to screw this up too much. Just kind of want to get it to a point where it looks decent, plays well enough, and we can be happy with that. It looks like my camera just stopped recording for a minute. I'm hoping I didn't lose too much footage. If I did, I hope it was just like a quick thing. Anyway, thought on that. I might have to break this into 2 videos, which is not a huge deal. It does also look like the camera battery is a little bit low. I can always recharge it, and it shouldn't take too long to come back to this, but I'm going to try and get this last pickup in here and at least get the bridge, or the pickguard itself, kind of put back together. So got that fella. Yes. There's the bridge pickup, and there's one more screw around here. Uh-oh. Where's the other screw? This is fun. Half of the fun, there it is. Half of the fun of having a workbench, albeit not a very large workbench, is wondering where the hell you put that screw. And I say that in all seriousness, because if you've ever played I Spy, you will find at least some enjoyment in figuring out where the hell you left something. Okay, so we got those, and we'll get the knobs going again. Oh, I'm just hoping these are the right size. Yes, beautiful, they are an import size. Love that. Bam, and bam, and one more. And we're going to have these pots thrown in. 1, 2. And 3. Come on. If I can actually thread this properly. I'm an adult, and I know how to do this. I'm very smart, I promise. Or at least smart enough that I can figure out that righty-tighty is righty and tighty, and lefty-loosey is lefty-loosey. Okay, there's that. And tighten these up a little bit. Try not to damage the wiring, because it wasn't the wiring that was screwed on these, it was just the pots that were pretty scratchy, and I'm assuming a similar issue with the switch. We can actually test this out again here in a minute. Now this is back together for the most part, I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to charge the camera and come back to this here in just a little bit, okay? So, we're back. Did do one thing while the camera was off. I did get the pick guard bolted back down. Not too worried about it. Pretty much everything else, though, is unchanged. Just wanted to kind of run back through the electronics, see how our deoxit run went. So, already sounding promising. So we got volume with no noise. Yes. That's good. That one's open, so the tone won't matter. So we got position 2. It's working fine. Position 3. Yes, that's good. Got position 4. In position 5, just the neck. And the switch works great. No cutting in and out. It's the thing with the Oxit. You don't have to be stingy on it, because it just works. It just works. It's like it likes it, you know? So, we'll get back over to the other cam being on as well, and keep plucking away at this. I think we're going to do this bridge here next. So, we've got this bridge here. It's still pretty nasty. Show you on there as best I can. And over here too. Pretty gunked up. Should be fairly straightforward though as far as getting it all off. Ooh, this neck is like, I'm just going to take the neck off. It was barely being held on in the first place, so it's just going to come off. Again, don't really mind removing bolts with a drill. You just want to be careful when you're tightening with a drill, because sometimes you can, over tighten and damage things. But yeah, removing stuff, generally as long as it's the right size bit, you're not going to hurt anything. Like worst case scenario, if it's the wrong size bit, you could risk stripping something out, but usually that kind of thing isn't super common in this scenario. Alright, yep. This is just to show the plywood on there, you can see. So, plywood body. And the necks on these are decently built. Looks like there is a shim tucked in there, so we'll hold on to that because that was likely fairly necessary with this guy. Usually when someone shimmed a guitar in the past, it was for a reason. So I just like to take note and usually reuse a shim. Sometimes you gotta remake them, but for the most part, it's usually about where you'll want it anyway. I'm gonna put the neck over here for now and get this, come back to that. So, we've just got the body. It's a little dusty up here. You don't necessarily need to vacuum everything. You can usually just smack your fucking workbench and get some of this crap off of there that way. Okay. So, we can just loosen this guy a little bit. Oh, not surprised that one's stripped a little. We don't have to take this out, just loosen it a little bit so there's not as much spring tension on. So these come out a little bit. This is also where these rounded pliers sort of come in handy. So you can just hold on to those for a bit. This is now free floating, that's good. And 6 screws. We love 6 screws. I always thought this design was a little bit overkill, but if it works, it works. pull all those. Yup. I guess we don't need to keep the screws in there. So we can just yoink those. Nice. Oh, and remember, is a very important step to drop one of the screws. Luckily, where you can see it. So, this guy maybe even should have waited to put the pick guard back on, but it's really not a huge deal. In this case scenario, I like to have a paintbrush to kind of get in here. Like, this isn't going to remove too much, but it will kind of help move things on a little bit. And you can kind of get a little bit of rubbing alcohol in here. And then use the paintbrush as kind of a way to scrape and get this stuff out. And you could probably use something a little bit more firm. I also have a toothbrush. This is literally just a toothbrush that I used to actually just use for my teeth. And then I was like, well, I got a new toothbrush. What do I do with this one? I guess I'll just throw it out. And I was like, well, I could use it for this. And ooh, oh, that's doing a beautiful job. Yeah, toothbrushes work fucking great for this kind of stuff. Highly recommend. You see just like all this stuff that's coming off of that. Just like how dark brown that is. It's like all the rust and crap from the screws. Just little gunk all just coming off. Works great. So, yeah, highly recommend a toothbrush. You kind of can't go wrong. Let's see. Looks like the input jack is pretty tight. I'm really not going to mess with that too much. Didn't seem to have really any problems there. But since we got this off, I'm going to grab a new rag. Maybe wondering, the box up on top of the bench here is, I've got a dirty rag bin up there. You might not be able to see it in this video, but yeah, I kind of like to do a wet rag, dry rag setup. And sometimes I'll wear gloves for this, but today I guess I'm just going to dry my hands out a little bit. Not a huge deal. Anyway, so decent amount of rubbing alcohol, because this guitar is frankly just kind of gross. I've seen grosser than this. My God, I've seen way worse. But yeah, the fact that I'm fairly certain this is a poly finish, I'm not worried about any of this stuff melting. It doesn't seem like it's nitro. It's responding how I would expect plastic to respond. It doesn't seem to be enamel paint either, or else it would be disintegrating. But yeah, you know, God, this thing has some serious mojo. Like, it's cleaning up decently enough. And yeah, it's still a bit dirty in some areas, but I'm kind of digging some of the checking on this thing. I'm really hoping that with a little bit of time and maybe some elbow grease, this will kind of get a proper punk rock vibe on it. Especially with, honestly, I wasn't super sure what to think when the pickguard showed up and it was like almost an identical color to the body, but goddamn, I do actually really like it. So I'm excited about that. I'm enthusiastic about that. It's funny. This strap button is just gone. They've plugged it with a screw to do sort of a punk rock style strap lock. So you literally just put your strap and then screw it down and it's not going to go anywhere. Luckily, I have a parts bin with extra strap buttons, so I will be able to just replace that with a normal strap button. But yeah, that guy was loose as hell. Okay, that's on there. But yeah, I'm not really a fan of that kind of a style. I'm not throwing my guitars around a shitload, so I think it'll be fine to just have a normal strap button. Anyway, to the bridge. Back to the thing I was trying to get to earlier. I'm going to set the body aside for now. Just, you know, we're going to put that on the floor. I think that's fine on the floor. Okay. I kind of like to lay a rag down when I do bridge work, just because stuff tends to get kind of messy. And I know I'm going to have to intonate this if I do this. I mean, I was probably going to have to intonate it anyway, but now I'm definitely going to have to do that. I'm just going to take off the saddles. I'm going to take the saddles all the way off. Ooh, these guys are on there fairly tight. Looks like these springs have been pretty heavily compressed. Makes me wonder. Yeah, I highly doubt this was actually properly intonated, so this is pretty much whatever. You know what, I'm going to hit this with some WD-40 because these springs are coming off a little goofy. And I was going to do that anyway, I think. So you can just give it a little soak. Not a huge deal. Oh yeah, already coming off immediately. Much, much smoother. So that is one. Whoop. Oh, buddy. Oh, my goodness. Oh, there we go. Yep. Oh, man. Yeah, some of these guys are really, really on here. Ah. Ow. God damn, buddy. This is why it's also good to just kind of have a rag. Kind of keep your hand from getting gunked up. Yeah, even just loosening this. Oh, I'm wondering if this is cross-threaded. That would be annoying. Or there's just so much crap in the threading. Yeah, I think there's just a bunch of crap in the threading. It's moving okay now. But yeah, sometimes you're just moving shit and it just doesn't want to go. I think WD-40 was the right move. Yep. It is reluctantly coming off. Come on. Come on, buddy. There we go. I'll deal with the carpal tunnel on that later. Don't necessarily have to keep these in order. I kind of like to keep them in a little bit of an order. Sort of lay them out like this. So that you kind of have it in the order you took it off. That would make a little bit more sense if this was maybe properly set by the height already, but I don't think... I think a lot of this is going to have to be adjusted anyway, so in the end it doesn't matter nearly as much. Let's see, that is coming out nicely. It's like I can tighten it a little bit, and then it loosens the rest of the way decently without too much fuss, so yeah, that... Whew, God, this is a dirty bridge. You can tell, like someone sweated all over this thing, or maybe the word sweat. Is sweated a word? You tell me. You let me know in the comments if sweated is a word. You also let me know maybe if there's a better word than sweated. Or sweat. Perspirated. Maybe. Something like that. Alright. Got another boy. Goodness gracious. Yeah, the toothbrush is definitely going to come in handy on this one. My God. I've also got a little wire brush somewhere, but... I try not to use the wire brush as much, because then you're kind of exposing... Like, most of these guitar parts are plated in some kind of way. You get nickel or whatever the hell. I find that when you scratch shit up, you tend to pay for it later. And obviously, you know, like, I'm probably not going to keep this guitar personally, but whoever I sold it to or sell it to probably would appreciate the due diligence of not having to worry about anything falling apart. So I would hope most people that do, you know, what I'm doing, where you kind of flip a lot of music gear, I hope they have similar thought processes, but it would not surprise me if most of the crap out there is kind of just, oh yeah, like used car salesmen like Danny DeVito and Matilda. So... Not trying to be like that. Definitely want to make sure shit is good and clean and ready to go. This thing is already cleaning up really nicely. It's a lot shinier immediately. I do like... Actually, I don't know if I'm going to use the rubbing alcohol at all, because if I go over here, I'll be right back. We got... Where is it? Here it is. Yes. This is a great... thing that I like to use is Brasso. Now, I don't remember where I got this recommended to me. I think initially it was one of these YouTube channels that does hi-fi reviews. He's the British guy. I don't remember his name, but he recommended Brasso for getting micro scratches out of the lids of turntables, and I thought it was great. But well, I mean, what it is for? It's a metal polish. So I've used this on a a lot of brass pieces, but it also works really well on pretty much any metal that just needs like a little bit. And this is already pretty shiny. It's just really, realistically, this isn't going to do too much, but I just kind of like to see what I can get out of this sometimes, because it's kind of fun. You know, it's a pretty light abrasive. Make sure to get it all over your pants too. It's a good way to do it. But yeah, I mean, you don't need much. Dab will do ya. Like a nickel size. Like I used Brasso on, I got this like antique Squier. I mean, it's obvious, it's, you know, if you know, you know, it's a Squier. But this guy was covered in rust, and a bit of Brasso and some time really brought it back to life. And I used to do a lot of woodworking, so that would come in handy if I was still doing a lot of woodworking. And you know, I've used it like once or twice. And one of these days, I'm hoping I can get a workshop proper going again, at least for woodworking, to be able to do some of that. Ooh, that actually helped a lot more than I was expecting. Nice. Oh. And that is lovely. Tighten those down. Make sure the block is in there. That is so much shinier. I'll show that in this camera too, just in case it doesn't pick up as well on the other one. Okay, with that being said, the actual bridge piece itself is more or less done. I'm not too worried about that. These saddles are pretty nasty. I think we might use a bit of alcohol on these guys. And the toothbrush. And just try and clean them up that way. Because they're a little bit tight to get Brasso in there. I don't think I'm going to be able to get to do very effective work with that. So that being said, pour up, drink up, po up, drank. And hopefully that'll kind of help a bit. Just sort of hold those like that, and yeah, okay. It's working decently enough. Not thrilled, but yeah, actually, okay, it mostly just needed a light pass, and this paintbrush is getting in there decently enough to sort of clear the last bit of the crap out. Looks like a lot of it was surface rust that was just kind of floating. And that's okay. You kind of encounter that stuff a lot. But yeah, I'll hit these with some alcohol and then dry them off a little bit, and then probably hit them with the WD-40 just to kind of grease them up a little bit, lube them back up so they go on nicely. And you can kind of, I'll usually just use the same rag that I poured a bunch of crap on because, you know, one side of it's still pretty dry. So you kind of just do it like that and not worry about it too much. And you want to make sure you drop one of those saddles underneath your bench so you have to come down here and grab it. It's very important. Uh-oh. Oh, it's somewhere. Where the hell did it go? Am I blind? I must be blind. Oh, yep, it's back here. That shit fucking, whoo, ran a marathon. Very good. Very, very good. Alright, we're gonna hit these with WD-40. And it's okay if they're bathing in it a little bit, it's not a big deal. I'm gonna hit the bolts as well. Even though they're on my mat, it's whatever. I don't think WD-40 damages the finish of guitars, but we'll see. I've used WD-40 on a decent amount of guitars at this point. I would imagine it's probably fine. But we can kind of start putting this back together. And each one of these guys you can dry off. And wiping that off with the WD-40 takes off a little bit of rust, so that is nice. Just kind of cleaning it up for the future. At some point this will probably rust over again. Someone with some nasty ass acidic sweat is going to get their hands on this thing and really just put it through the ringer, but that's how it goes. Shout out to my boys out here with Italian jeans and some fucking brutally acidic sweat. I know some of you out there got to deal with that, and fucking good luck. got a couple of friends with acidic sweat, and geez, some of the instruments of theirs that I've played have been like, how on earth do you keep this in one piece? They're just used to having to heavily maintain their shit. Like, look it up, it's a real thing. Acidic sweat. Some people's pH on their sweat is a lot higher than others, so some people literally have more caustic and corrosive sweat, and it degrades their guitars faster, which is kind of crazy, but kind of cool at the same time as far as fun facts go. Oh, come on. Get in your home. There you go. Attaboy. Okay. And we're just going to kind of put these wherever. I'm not super worried about, like I said, intonation or any of that crap. We're going to have to reset most of this anyway. We're going to have to set pickup height. We're going to have to reset intonation. Not a big deal. And realistically, I don't have a strobe tuner at the moment. I just have a clip tuner, so the intonation is going to be pretty fucking far off anyway, as far as where you would want intonation to be. Like, it'll be close in a relative scheme of things, but it's not going to be, you know, I don't have a strobe tuner. So it's going to be in what I like to call good enough. I'm certainly not a recording artist, and I think most people who are hobbyists aren't going to really care too much about intonation unless they are going to do some kind of recording project, or if they're in a very serious, like, prog rock band. Honestly, I'm surprised more people, I'm surprised a lot of people are really uppity about the intonation on their instrument. I find the more antsy you get about that shit, the less likely you're going to be playing that much, unless you're, like, really a serious rock act. I remember, I never worked as a tech in music retail. I was just, you know, sales or warehouse or management, that kind of stuff. But some people would, you know, I'd hear horror stories from a guitar tech who had to deal with old men all the time, who are always very consistently belligerent. And, you know, sometimes they'd even be in the right. A lot of the time, they're just being nitpicky as hell, though. And intonation would come up occasionally. And, God, the amount of times that I'd see someone tweak with a guitar only for it to sound nearly exactly the same. You know, and you're messing with it. It's going to sound a little different, but some people really nitpick on shit that, at the end of the day, if you're just playing your guitar like a normal goddamn person, it really doesn't matter. Stop worrying about your guitar's intonation and just play the fucking thing. Which maybe indicates where I am as far as playing goes. But I think it's kind of the right opinion to have. Just play it. Just play your guitar, man. It's not a big deal. So what, you're a little out of tune. You're not fucking Bach. You're not Beethoven. This isn't classical music. It's rock and roll. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, we got this bridge more or less back together. I'm going to tighten things just a little bit more. Oh. Yes, okay. Just kind of move things back a little bit. Yep. Okay. That is a significantly cleaner and shinier bridge. I'm going to fucking get rid of that. Maybe throw a little before and after or something. Much, much nicer looking. I'll throw it over in this camera too. Alright. Let's see. Get this fucking body back. I'm going to kind of put some of these other things back just to kind of get shit out of the way. Trying to be a little bit careful because I already peeled off the plastic on this pick guard. I don't want to mess it up too much, obviously. It's going to get a little bit funky, but it's just how it goes. And in fact, I'm going to get another rag. The nice thing about microfiber towels is, despite what people think, you can totally just fucking wash them. Just normal. They'll still work like pretty damn good. I've reused and rewashed these microfiber towels many, many times. And maybe they're a little less effective than when I first got them, but for the most part, they're still pretty peachy. So, not super worried about that. Alright, that is the bridge. Let me screw this bad boy back in, and then we'll go, I think, over to the neck, and kind of go from there. We're entering the last stretches. And I know I said not to tighten stuff with a drill, but on these longer bolts you can kind of tighten them down a little bit and like leave just a skosh at the end and then do it by hand at the end. So I'm going to do that because it makes things a little bit quicker. So, yep, that's a much closer. Same with all the rest of these. As long as you're not like, you know, trying to torque down and tighten down the damn thing, it should be fine. The concern is really just that last little bit. Ooh, and we also want to definitely put the screws or the springs back in since this is still free floating. And I kind of like to do the little grippy from this side where it's like the 3 in the middle. Ooh, I know what else I want to do. Hold on, I need a fucking piece of foam because there's nothing more annoying than the goddamn springs in the back of your guitar sounding off when you don't want them to. So we're just going to grab a little bit of this. Doesn't need to be much. Just a little wedge. And make sure if you're using a box cutter that you jam your thumb right into the razor blade. It's really good for you. Your body will really appreciate that. Okay. Hook this guy right into here. And come on, buddy. It's okay. And sort of jam this the rest of the way. Yeah. That looks very professional, I'm sure. Oh my goodness. Come on. Go in your home. You want to go in your home. There you go. Yeah, sometimes these hooks like to fight a little bit, but that's okay. And then, like I said, you can jam your little wedge under here. Might just take this guy out and then jam that up there and come on. There we go. So, no more noise, and that's just a piece of foam. You can just take that out. I just recommend if you ever get like stuff that you know, like just whatever packaging has some like little squishable foam in it, keep a block of it around because it's always nice to be able to mute your springs like that. Other thing with this guitar, I don't have the trem arm, so it doesn't really matter anyway if this is blocked. And if someone else buys a trem arm, they can pull a little bit of that out and kind of make it work. So we're going to just tighten these down just a hair. We're not trying to clamp it all the way down as if you know, like we're trying to lock it down, so just a bit. We can also test the trem arm movement. Let's see, that's a little too thick. If I take that out, nope. Fuck it, we're going to use the bit. Okay, yeah, that'll still go. These are nice because they're pretty hard. Not really going to fuck it up too much. Obviously, it'd be nicer if I had an actual trem arm to test this with, but there is still movement there. Springs still feel good. Not worried about it. That being said, this is so much cleaner already. I'm happy with how this is coming along. So where am I at? Springs are good. Bridge is good. Slam the guitar down on there. Need to take this strap button off and replace it with an actual strap button. We need to run through the neck real quick. Let's see, I'm going to, where's my yellow? Yeah, there it is. This is my flathead, my one and only. I mean, I have other flatheads, I'm sure, but this is the one I end up using the most. So I'm going to take this thing off because I hate it. Oh, that really explains that, huh? Big old gaping hole in the where the body strap is supposed to be. Just had this guy in it, so not a huge deal. We're going to be able to fill that hole But if that is the case, I'm not going to worry about this until later, and we're going to move on to the neck. So as far as the neck goes, main issue I'm seeing, obviously it's just dirty as hell. And then you've got this tuning machine here, which is missing the collar. I'm pretty sure it's called a collar on that. And while I don't think I have an exact replacement, I'm pretty damn sure I will have a vintage style one that will work. So I'm once again going to put this guitar body on the ground because we like to leave shit on the ground here. And I've got a bag somewhere off camera of vintage tuning machine parts. I know this is very fun to watch and look at. Aha! Here it is. It's great to just... If you ever have the chance to gut a few guitars, I highly recommend it, because you will get the opportunity to get some pretty useful pieces out of it. Oh, come on. Where are those damn collars? They're not in this bag with the tuning machines, so where are they? That's not good. Hold on. Hold on. Waiting, watching, waiting, holding. Oh, here are some. Okay. Where are we at? What are we thinking? What is it? Where is it? How will it affect me? God damn it. Well, that's the opposite of good. That's bad. There's tuning machines that are like a modern style over here. But where are those vintage fellers? I had so many of those. This is what happens when you move. You just start losing stuff. Oh my goodness. That's... Ah, yes! Ha 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 ha. I don't know why they ended up in a separate little container, but I think I had another one of these Squiers. This is the Contemporary Series one. I had also one of these missing, so yes. Okay. Something tells me, I suspect these were from a fucking Peavey, I think, or they were from another older Fender as well. Anyway, not a huge deal. I've got the part, so that's good news. Spray off the headstock a bit and just get some of this crap off of here. It's certainly... Oh yes. Oh yes. Very good. Usually when you do this, some of these other collars, I'm calling them collars, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called, but it's been a while. I'm pretty sure these tend to fall out when you go to fuck with them a little bit much, so I'm kind of not surprised. Like, this is a super common thing for these vintage styles to have issues with, and in fact these are kind of loose, so I'm going to open these up. These are usually held together with like different like grease and screws and shit, and usually they don't need too much, just a little tightening. So we're going to just kind of go through these and see what we find. I'm hoping this is an okay angle for you guys. Let's see if I can't pop that open. Ah, yes. Okay, so this is how these vintage style tuning machines work. You have just a gear and, god damn it, whatever the hell the name is on this. But this screw usually, this guy right here has a tendency to come loose because that attaches directly to the post. So yeah, that's tightened right back up and it's ready to go. It's literally all these need most of the time. That's not to say that, you know, there aren't other times where stranger things happen and you need to do a little bit more tweaking. Actually, I'm gonna leave these out in a row. because I can get the dust off of them better that way. So I'm not going to reinstall these yet until I have taken them all apart and I've checked to make sure that they are all good to go. And I'm hoping that this is on the... yeah, it's on the camera well enough. Hoping the GoPro's getting the rest of it. If not, it's really not a huge deal. Let's just repeat this process 6 times. But, yes. If you've made it this far in the video, I do appreciate you watching this far. If you haven't caught up with the channel before, this is what I've been doing lately for many, many months now. I kind of quit with the music reviews, if you know me from that. It's not like I don't want to do music reviews at all. I just think I will be doing them significantly less frequently, because, you know, I don't have too much to say on stuff. Forcing the issue, it wasn't fun. But cleaning up guitars, that's something I like to have fun with. This is fun for me. And honestly, I've been having a blast filming this. I genuinely hope you guys enjoy watching me tinker with things, because this is one of my happy places, is here at the workbench, working on stuff. What the hell is on my arm? Whatever. That's what we do here. We have questions about mysterious substances on our arms. Yes. And it comes nicely off. Very good. Outstanding. Okay. This guy's a little loose. I could feel that. Just moving it. Very good. Unfortunately, I don't have more grease to grease these back up. I had some. I don't know what the hell happened to it. But usually these don't need that much grease anyway. And frankly, you know, I could probably just hit some of these with WD-40 and they'll probably be fine. But for now, I'm not super worried about it. This is going to be okay. At the end of the day, these guitars, these Squiers from the late 80s and early 90s, are very popular for mod projects. At least I think they're great for modding projects, because they're relatively cheap. The necks on them are pretty solid. Bodies are whatever, but realistically, the important part of 99% of guitars is the neck. If you have a bad neck on a really nice body, guess what? It's going to play like a guitar with a bad neck. But if you have a nice neck on like an okay or kind of bad body, even a kind of bad body, it's still going to play pretty nicely. The neck is a really important thing. So these guys are a pretty good deal for what you get. And the tuning machines, these guys are basically crap. They were put on because these are cheap and they're easy to manufacture. So I would recommend to anyone who buys one of these, swap out the tuning machines, swap out the pickups, maybe the nut, and maybe the saddles. And you'll have a really nice playing and nice sounding electric guitar. Because these necks are already like 99% of the way you would want them to be. That being said, you know, if it's warped or if it's wonky, you know, obviously there's issues. Like the quality control on these aren't perfect, but Korea got pretty decent at making stuff around the late 80s. So this is about where you would want to go. There's kind of a... It's sort of like how Japan wasn't really desirable until the late 70s. For Japanese-made guitars. Every place that starts making them is delayed by about like a decade on how actually good the production quality is. So, Japanese guitars in the 60s, crap. Japanese guitars in the early 70s, crap. Japanese guitars in 1978, 79, pretty good, and continually increasing in quality until the modern day. They're quite nice, and they have been quite nice for a long time now. So yeah, Japanese guitars, great. Korean guitars, kind of crappy in the early 80s, and by the end of the 80s, starting to get pretty good. So like this era of Squier, is somewhat desirable because it is really when they start getting better at production. The mid-'80s Squiers that were made in Korea are very hit and miss. I had a Squier Bullet. It was like an 85 or 86. It was really nice, but I've played others of the same era that were just really, really big duds. And yeah, a lot of the time, it's just kind of the luck of the draw. But yeah, late 80s, early 90s, Korea is solid. And then they moved production over to like Mexico and Indonesia. There's a few years for various companies where they use India, but I would argue India has never been particularly great as far as production for guitars. You know, they're fine with some things, but I don't think there's a particularly desirable era of Indian-made guitars, with the exception of collectability. I know that Fender used the Sun brand and released some budget models that were made in India that are not particularly great guitars, but they are Sun guitars, which is weird, so people like to collect those. See, we're missing a string tree here. I guess I have another, I have 2 spare string trees in there, but they are modern style and not vintage style like this. And I suppose I could swap those out, but I'm really not super worried about it. You mostly want your string trees on your high E and your B string anyway, so it's kind of not a big deal. Let's see, clean off this nut a little bit. I'm going to wipe this nut off. There's some crap in the truss rod hole. Yep. Perfect with the paintbrush. Very nice. Oh, that's coming along wonderfully. Let's see. Nice, nice. All right. So, we can install the tuning machines again, but what I'd like to do first, let's see. We're going to get this collar in. So, I have super glue here. You might be a little worried by that, but it is one of those situations where a dab will do you. Puncture. Turn cap until clicking noise stops. Oh, you know, I should probably have the nozzle on still. There you go. Okay. Unscrew cap. Let it explode all over somewhere over there. Okay. You just want a little bit on this guy. We're like literally going to put just like one dab. Boop. That's all we're going to use. Because worst case scenario would be you get this in the actual tuning machine itself. And we can even wipe some of the excess off on there, because this is like a gel kind of super glue. But does it quite match? Is anyone really going to complain too much? Not really. There are certain guitars that are not sacred. Even a 59 Les Paul isn't sacred. The only reason that a 59 Les Paul, and this is true, the only reason a 59 Les Paul is desirable is because it is the year when the least amount of Gibson Les Pauls were manufactured. That's it. Like, that's the only reason. There's nothing else special about them. So, in a rarity or scarcity case, yes, you could make the case that a guitar like that is sacred. But, you know, the budget brand Korean-made Squier, you can kind of mess with a little bit. And you can see on this guy, I'm going to show it here, you can tell it's a lot more chrome on that guy right meow. But that's okay, because realistically, most people aren't going to be looking at this up close anyway, and they're going to see it from like 10 feet away. It looks like the super glue on that already took place. That's lovely. So we're going to just start popping these bad boys back in. And that'll be a lot of the work done on this. We still have to go through, obviously, and clean off the fretboard. And honestly, I might put it back on the guitar for that, or at least back on the body for that. We'll see. Oh, goodness. I've done a dumb thing here. Need to line these damn things up, and then, yep, there we go, and make sure you lose the screw. It's very important. Oh, that one is actually a very small screw. Oh, crap. Oh, goodness. Uh-oh. Stand by. Oh, that's a good thing that's happened. That's a very good thing that's happened. Oh. It's a great thing that's happened. Jeez. Ah, yes, very good. This is why you have bins of replacement parts for when you inevitably drop the smallest screw known to man. And just make sure that fits. Oh, thank goodness. Literally can't stop winning. And we're just going to kind of get these all one by one. Yes, it is going to take a minute, but that's okay. It's alright if this is a process. Because, you know, I'm willing to bet this guitar probably hasn't seen this level of cleanup or polish since it came off the assembly line. And, you know, I keep saying these things aren't sacred or anything, but it is worth it to, you know, sort of catch and release these guitars that have just been beat to hell and get in something that, you know, has been abused and not necessarily taken the best care of. And it's great to, you know, catch one of these things and release it back into the wild as a fully playing and frankly well playing instrument. It's pretty satisfying. So we're not here to just, you know, slap together something that's not going to be the best it can be. Realistically, god damn it, little ass screws. Realistically, there are people out there who could set this guitar better than me. There's many, 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 many of them. But I think a lot of those people might not take the time to focus on a cheaper guitar like this. Especially if they're going to take the tuning machines off that I just said were crap. They would probably replace it with tuning machines that are generally considered good and not crap. So, very good. And I'm just going to sort of plop these in, and I hope that will sort of speed the process up. Maybe a little bit. Just a little bit. Or maybe these will get in the way. It'll be fun. It's an adventure. We'll figure this out together. Yes, yes. Oh, very good. Very good. There we go. There's one right meow. Right meow. Very good. There's something going on upstairs right now. Someone's throwing some things around. I think it's probably dinner time. So in a minute here, I might take a break and come back to you guys in a bit with a rested voice, more of a charged camera, and a fuller belly. But I am going to get this screwed back on here. Yes, 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 yes. Outstanding. Very good. And this guy. Yeah, I think most people, if these tuning machines were going to come off, they'd put on much nicer ones. But hey, it is what it is. Or you just get these crazy vintage Strat or Tele guys who like want the vintage style tuners at all costs, even if they are arguably doo-doo. So, sort of clean as you go. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. You know, put some of this stuff away. And that is the neck for now. I'm going to see if I have another vintage style string tree, and if I do, I'll pop it on. But in the meantime, I'm going to go eat some dinner, and I'll come back in a bit, hopefully with one of those, and then we'll throw the body and the neck back together and kind of wrap things up. Okay, so I just got back from eating some dinner, feeling good, looking good, hopefully. So, where did we leave off? We finished up the neck. I'll show you. I did find one of those vintage style string trees. It's not quite the exact match, but I think it'll do just fine. And once the actual strings are on, it shouldn't be a huge deal. So I'm going to set this aside for just a moment because, oh goodness, some pump's running. When, I don't remember, at the start of like last video or something, we found a hole, or at least the fucking strap button was replaced with just this this big old screw, and that's kind of blown this whole thing out. So I've got another strap button here with an appropriate size screw, and we're gonna plug that hole, or at least fill it a little bit. And what this is technically for like door jambs, that kind of stuff. This is a composite like wood and glue mixture that's kind of just been pressed into this block. The idea being you can split off pieces to fill very large screw holes. Obviously, this is not an incredibly large screw hole, so it's going to be a little jank. Normally, I would recommend doing this with toothpicks, but I just moved and I have no idea where my toothpicks went. So this will work just fine. I'm not super worried about it. Basically, we'll just get a couple strips going, and like basically toothpick width, and we can take a few of them and just kind of jam them in. And the thing is, we're gonna put some glue in there as well, but goodness, yeah, we could fit another couple of those in there. The nice thing about these is once you kind of split them, you can cut them again and sort of jam them in further. So what was I talking about? Yes, you don't really need to use a ton of glue in these. You just kind of want to make sure it sticks well enough, like, because the actual friction of the screw entering the hole and expanding it is going to do most of the work. So like we can cut that mostly flat already and just sort of pack those in nice and tight with the butt of this screwdriver. And then a couple of drops of super glue will really do. Like you could use wood glue and like let this thing sit overnight or sit for however long you want it to set. But with just a little bit of super glue and some of this stuff, you really don't have to worry about it too much. Especially because this will set in just a minute, because super glue sets very quickly. And you can kind of shave the rest off with the razor. One of these guys. I'll let that sit for a minute. You can shave it flat, pop the new fucking screw in there, and you're really not going to need to worry about much. Actually, I might even use a little bit more glue. God, I haven't had a proper thing of Loctite in a little while. I was just using those like hardware store little packs of super glue that are like disposable. And God, you know, it's really nice to have some Loctite again, because it's good stuff. Okay, so not super worried about that. It's not really going to get particularly messed up. It's just a little bit of super glue, and it's not in a very large patch. So I'm actually going to set this down for a minute and redirect attention back over to the neck. So let's see. Looking pretty straight. I do want to test for some movement on this. Looks like the truss rod is in okay shape. I'm going to throw just a squirt of WD-40 in there just in case. Obviously, you know, you don't want to move it around too much, but also you don't want to have it not move at all and then fucking round the thing out or something. I think this is a 4mm. It's pretty standard. Yep, should be a 4. Oh, and that's moving beautifully, actually. Wow. That appears to be straight. I don't think I'm going to have to actually do much to that, which is really, really nice. I think that's close to being maxed out, but there should still be some life on that, which is nice. I'm going to put that away. So, I kind of do necks in a bit of an unorthodox way. This is something I learned at a used music store, to kind of bust through necks fairly quickly, as opposed to taking all goddamn day with the things. So, yeah. Do I have more oil in this? This is just F1 oil. Okay, that's toast. Luckily, I have more. This is F1 oil. It's Music Nomad. I think it's very good stuff. Be careful taking off the lid, because sometimes the whole, like the little nubbin will come off as well. And then you're just screwed. So I like to take this stuff, run it down the neck, sort of rub it in. And obviously it is a dirty neck. But we're going to get some oil on there just to kind of get stuff moving. And to kind of act as a, almost like the water in a wet sanding situation. Obviously you can wet sand with oil too. That's what we're about to do. So what you want, and this is something that I've seen some people defend or lambast on forum posts. Personally, I like it. Oh, actually, I have some over here already. Just take some steel wool. Like, not like you want fine grit steel wool. You don't want like rough grit, because you're not trying to actually take chunks out of this. You're basically just trying to clean the damn thing. And we're going to make a couple of passes with steel wool, because what you're going to also be able to do is hit the fret wire, which is in desperate need of cleaning as well. And you can kind of just run it along, and obviously you don't want to do this with a maple neck. That's silly. You want to do that, tape it off proper, get the fucking metal shields, and do that proper. But a rosewood fretboard is not going to give you any grief, because what you're taking off a little bit of the wood, but not enough, because it's a light enough grade of steel wool that you're not really removing very much. And you're sort of conditioning the wood as you're getting the crap off of it. And you get some of these frets, some of the fret wire, polished a little more. And obviously I'm kind of doing this a little haphazardly, because there is just so much crap on this. We're going to make a few passes. But yeah, this is, surprisingly enough, not harmful for rosewood fretboards, ebony fretboards. Like, if it's an open pore fretboard, this will be fine. Really not going to hurt much of anything. You might think that it'll affect the fretboard radius. It's such a small difference that really it's not. Like, if you were to do this hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe. But it's such a light grain on the steel wool, like, it doesn't matter. Like, I think we're using like quadruple odd or something. Like, I'm like the lightest one you can find, because it's just enough grit to get crap off of your fretboard, but not enough to ruin your fretboard. And it just kind of polishes off the fret wire. And as you're sort of doing this, you're working more oil into the fretboard, into the wood, and that's good for the fretboard. So let me know what you think of that. If you want to crucify me, it is what it is, you know. I worked at a used music store, and I thought it was a little weird at first too, but goddamn if it doesn't do the fucking trick. Obviously you don't want to get too much steel wool everywhere, because, you know, it'll get into pickups and that kind of stuff. I kind of like doing this without the neck on, or without the neck on the body, because depending on if you have covers on your pickups, steel wool can get pulled over to your guitar by the magnet, and the actual magnet wire can get cut because of the little fragments of steel wool. So after this, we'll clean up the bench a little bit more before going back in. Yes, yes. That is cleaning off nicely. Yeah, you see, you're going to need to take something abrasive to a neck in most cases when there's this much crap on it. So you might as well also be buffing the frets at the same time, you know? It's kind of one of those time-saving measures that I think people are a little nervous by, because of, you know, you just hear like the right and the wrong way to do things. And everyone always brings up a shield for the fretboard when it comes to buffing your frets. It's a very common thing. I have a Frine polishing kit, and I've used them. I still use them on maple fretboards and any fretboards that I've done that are finished. But yeah, unfinished fretboards are totally fine. You can totally rock it this way. On all of my own personal gear, I have done this, and it works great. Give it a shot and let me know what you think of it, because frankly, I think it's one of those things that people are kind of afraid to mess with. Here, let me get this crap off my hands. So, like I said, we'll do more than one pass on this. That's kind of a first pass, or maybe even like a pass and a half if you can count the new piece of fucking steel wool. And again, don't be afraid to use too much oil. There's kind of no such thing. Your guitar will absorb as much oil as it can get on the fretboard, and then it'll kind of chill. There's an equilibrium level of moisture that that wood likes to be at in different environments. You know, next to certain things and with certain things. And this F1 oil is really awesome. Like, it'll hydrate the hell out of your fretboard, and it doesn't generally twist or warp the neck at all. It's really good stuff. Highly, highly recommend F1 oil. It's pretty much the only thing you'll ever need as far as oil goes with your fretboard. And this pass, you see, I'm really just kind of trying to work the oil in. I'm not even necessarily going for the steel wool, because it's already pretty clean at this point. And we've already buffed the frets a pretty good amount. We're not trying to make the frets mirror finish. Like, you can do that. Like, you can go through with a Dremel. I've seen with a polishing pad on it. I don't usually bother with that kind of thing. I think at some point I might kind of try and see how it goes, because it's been a while. But for the most part, this is going to be fine. And that's kind of what we're aiming for in most cases. This does not need to be the most impressive guitar you've ever seen, but it needs to play nicely. And I think this will get us there. If you look at that. I don't think I got it before on this fretboard, but this is a little after. There's, you know, a little gunk here and there, but for the most part, it is a lot cleaner. And it's a much quicker solution as well. People will go in with razor blades and get all pockmarked up on there. I find that to be not a waste of time. Like, I don't think any of this stuff is a waste of time. We're doing this as a way to kind of cover everything and cover our asses and make sure that shit is good to go. But this is, frankly, more than most people will do. And I think that's kind of the goal, is like, you know, get stuff to a point where most people will be like, oh, I hadn't thought about that before, I hadn't done that way, or I hadn't done that at all. And that is a nice way to do that, because it's much more convenient. You never know. Anyway, so where are we at? Got this fella. Got this. I'm not going to worry about that for right now. Got the back plate still. I don't know if I clean that off. Might as well just give it a spritz. Wipe down that. That's going to be fine. So, that super glue has probably had enough time to dry now. It sets fairly quickly, so I'm going to just sort of set the neck over there. God, that looks so much better. Ugh. Okay, super glue is still a little wet. So we're going to give it just another minute on that. What the hell am I doing now? I guess we'll reattach the neck to the body. Since the actual wet part of the super glue is down here, don't necessarily need to worry about it too much. Oh, and we'll get that neck shim that was in there. Throw that back on. So it was about there. Yeah, usually, you can usually trust a neck shim that's been installed in the past, because usually someone was onto something when they were doing that. Okay. Got the screws for the neck here. I am wondering if these were so loose that I might have to pack those in as well and sort of refill the holes. Obviously we have the composite material, so it should be fine. But we're going to take this with a drill, get it close, just like the bridge. That is rotating more than I would like, so I suspect these are going to need to be refilled, but we will see. That one torques down nicely. There we go. Okay, yeah, no, these do torque down. That's good. Not rounded out. Very nice. Nice. There we go. Hands are still a little bit oily from the fretboard, but that's okay. Alright. How's that super glue? Super glue is looking a little wet still. Neck looks pretty damn straight. I'm actually really impressed with this thing so far. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Something like that. Try and get that on there. And then, love that that's back together. Goodness gracious, we are getting there. Throw that dirty rag away. While we're waiting for the glue, I'm going to clean off these the volume and tone knobs, which not super dirty, but I always like to give these a pass, just because usually people were not particularly, they got their grubby mitts all over them. You can kind of see, they're a little crummy. These I kind of like to do like I do the bridge. Oh, and I've touched the super glue because I'm very smart. Not super sticky anymore though, so that's good. Let's see. I'm going to wipe off the excess. Or I'll just glue a rag to it. Who knows? Alright. Or I'll just glue my thumb together. That's fun. This is how we do things. It's looking okay though. Not too worried about that. Okay, back onto this. Get another rag out. I wonder if I can get that a little out of the way. You might be wondering what this thing that says the juice is. It's the juice. It's mostly water, but just a little bit of Fabuloso. Just a little bit. Don't need much. You just want like a little bit of an abrasive. I worked at a shop that used Windex to clean damn near anything. Windex and a brush, like a scrub brush. You just take this and you scrub it all off like that. And obviously it's not a perfect science. It's not going to get all of the dirt out, but it is going to clean it up a bit more. And yeah, I might even get in there with the toothbrush. This is a little bit finer. And you're just kind of trying to get some of the grime out of there. Nice. Obviously you're not going to get everything, but the goal is to make it a little less crummy. Very good. And you kind of want to go with the grain of the knob. And you can kind of do a bit of overkill on the water and Fabuloso as well. And I know everyone has their like little things they like to do as far as cleaning solutions and shit. I just think this works pretty good and is incredibly cheap because you can buy like a whole thing of Fabuloso, and I think this is like less than a cap full for this spray bottle, so it lasts like forever. And you can use this on like some guitars. I would say cheaper ones like this one. I considered using it here, but I thought the might be more fun to use the alcohol for this one. Yeah, it's coming together nicely. I don't know if you can see that super well, but if you just kind of run it along with the knob there, it gets cleaned out pretty good. Toothbrush definitely the way to go on that. And, you know, I could just swap the knobs out entirely, but it's really not a huge deal. See, like, look at that. There's, like, kind of the old gunk. I mean, there's that same spot. A little bit cleaner. And, yeah, there you go. Yeah, everyone who works on instruments has their little tricks for how to clean shit up. And never be afraid to use a toothbrush, because they clean your teeth pretty well, and those are pretty small, so they can clean a lot of other things and get into a lot of nooks and crannies pretty easily as well. I haven't tried a vibrating toothbrush before with these. I bet you it would work pretty good. You know, you see like the commercials for like the fancy next-gen toothbrush technology, and I bet you it would work just as well for what I'm doing here, if not better. Or maybe it'd be worse, who knows. Anyway, I'm just going to wipe these off, dry them off a little bit. Volume's looking good. Tone knobs are just about there. I've still got super glue on my thumb, which feels especially strange, but that's fine. Okay. I like to turn the knobs to the like volume down position. Just sort of line them up, so volume 0, tone 0, tone 0. So now those are all... Ooh, now that it has the knobs back on there, it's looking real snazzy. This thing is cleaning up really nicely. I don't know if you remember at the beginning of this, but it's coming together real nice. Pretty happy with it. Neck is significantly cleaner. Let's see. It looks like that has dried. That is good. It would be funny if it was still wet and I just put my finger right on it. Might even take a hint of Scotia sandpaper to it. So these razor blades are a little dull. Although, yeah, I can't complain about that. There's nothing wrong with using a safety knife, especially when it's not super safe and you get your thumb wedged in it. But at the end of the day, this strap button is pretty much going to cover this whole fucking thing. So, it's really not a huge deal what it looks like right now. So, this is what we've got right now as opposed to the gaping hole that was earlier. I'll show you over here too, if that's better. I think I might just grab a small piece of sandpaper and knock it just a little bit, because I did get the glue a little splotchy. And this part about that is some of the dust gets mixed in with any remaining glue that hasn't dried yet, so it kind of solidifies. And yeah, just knock that a little bit. You don't need much. And we can just take touch alcohol. I don't think alcohol dissolves super glue, so we'll probably be fine there. It would be pretty funny if it did, though. Nice. Seems to be working well. Yep, doesn't seem to be dissolving the super glue I've got stuck to my thumb, so we should be safe. Okay, so got this last little guy on there, and we're just gonna fucking fill this thing in. We're gonna pop this guy right there and install the new strap button, and that'll be that. The nice thing about these lower end guitars is if you make a little bit of a fucky wucky, this is a little bit of a fucko boingo, you can kind of not worry about it too much. Sort of like how I did not intend to get glue everywhere. And it's not everywhere, but it's more places than I'd like it to be. I'm going to set this drill to 1 as far as like the torque setting goes, just so that I can sink this thing in a little bit deeper than if I was doing this by hand, but it won't fucking round this thing out, I hope. Alright, I think I'm going to get the rest of that. Set this back up for later. It's fine. And yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. This thing, I think, just needs some strings. And then we can get into the last little bit of setup. There is, I just want to get this little, like some schmeg around the neck pocket. You know what I mean? Another nice thing about these wedges, you can put a towel over them and kind of get a little bit more force, a little bit more intentional with your cleaning, your wiping. Get a little bit of that doo-doo off of there. And a lot of this is kind of just not going to come off, but that's fine. Damn, you know, this is like a nice cream-colored Strat. Like, I'm fucking super into this. I am very pleased with how this is coming out. Let's see. Those are nothing to worry about. Is this gonna... That lines up more or less with the holes. You know what? In case I need to adjust the tension, I'm not going to put that on just yet. So, we got super slinkies, regular slinkies, we got 8s, we've got power slinkies. I think I'm just going to do the classic 9s for these. Set a 9 to 42, because it's fucking Strat scale length, or at least should be 25 and a half. Yeah, it's 25 and a half. I don't see any reason it wouldn't be, but you never know. Sometimes you just want to measure scale length just to be sure. And cut this damn thing open. Pliers are great because you can use them to cut fucking anything. If you got little baby fingers like I do, you can just chomp it open with those. Okay, so we got a set of 9s, and I can't think of anything else right now that I need to get knocked out on this. So I think we're gonna just throw them on, string it up, make sure it's relatively in tune, mostly intonated, and make sure it's all good to go. So we got these fellers. There we go. I find that best way to string these up, so throw them through tuning machine, bam, and then you want to go about 1.5 over as far as the tuning machines, and then you want to put them back through. Okay, I think you can see that on here. So through here and then back through about 1.5 tuning machines length. And then you want to get this bad boy, crank it up, throw some tension onto it, and then just kind of go for it. And bend that up so it's not in the way. Probably not the most visible thing right now as far as this video has gone for putting these strings on, but it'll be relatively quick. Okay, it doesn't really matter if they're super in tune right now. We'll get to that. And then I suspect I'm going to have to raise the saddles on this guy because they look pretty damn low. Yeah, I think almost definitely. Get this guy, throw it in, send it through here. I don't know if I actually have that lined up. That might help. Okay. Send it through here. Make sure there's not any Thing loose, throw it back, bend it, get the gun, pull the trigger, keep tension on it, make sure it loops around to the top, fucking pull this thing out of the way. And rinse and repeat. I also sometimes like to just throw all the strings through the block ahead of time, just so I can kind of knock them out like one after the other, but it's not a huge deal. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't. I find if it's like, might have put that a little low for that. Oh, there we go. I find that if there's like locking tuners and stuff, I like to do that, but seeing as these are vintage style, I'm just going to kind of run it through one by one and see how it goes. Vintage style string tree that is not the original is handling pretty well. Glad I found that. I figure, you know, even if it's not the exact right fit or like the exact right match, it'll just be good to have on there because I'm not creating any new holes or anything. See if it holds up on the other side too. It seems to be doing fine. Ooh. Looks like I got some WD-40 on this string. Oh well. It is gonna whoop. Come on. There we go. Nope. Come on, buddy. There we go. All right. Get in the hole somewhere. Okay. And back there and bend. Pull the trigger. Tighten. Oh. Something was caught in there, so I have a lot more slack on here, so this string's going to be a little goofy. I love when that happens. It's my favorite. Especially on the G string. God damn it. It's okay. It is coming along nicely. Since the other string tree is stock, these should be not as much of a problem. I'm just going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to make sure they fall all over the ground instead of going into the trash can, because that's very important. It's a very important step. It's exactly what you want to happen. Very, very good. Man, you know, I think this thing is going to be really nice. Like I said, these have kind of a cult following. And it's, you know, there's a reason for it. They're certainly not bad guitars. They're just guitars that have cheap parts on them. And the body is nothing to write home about. But you could totally throw some bitchin' pickups in this thing. Swap out the tuning machines and a few other parts, and you have a really, really, really solid guitar. Really, really, really solid vintage guitar at that. Come on. Oh. We're getting there. Beautiful. Lovely, delightful. Perfect. Finally, some good food. So this last one up there. Come on. There you go. Very nice. Seems good. Throw it through Mia. And I don't usually like to leave the danglies on, but I usually will leave them on while I'm restringing it. God forbid something pops out or slips or whatever. But yeah, I'll probably get these mostly tuned up and then snip these. I'm not like into the whole Tom Morello look. I think it's a little bit silly. And just, you know, unnecessary. Some people like to give it the luthier's knot. I did for a while out of habit from working at music stores, but I kind of just like to make sure that the slack just doesn't wrap underneath and then like kind of call it good that way. So we'll get this thing mostly tuned and then go from there. Oh, yep. Might even have to loosen the truss rod because I tightened it up a bit earlier. Well, that's actually already not bad. Yeah, I think it's going to need a little bit of relief in the neck, but just kind of stretch these strings. I didn't stretch my strings for a very long time when I was playing guitar, or well, learning to play the guitar. And when I went into music retail and I restrung a guitar in front of one of my coworkers, he said, "What the hell are you doing?" I said, "I'm restringing the guitar." He says, "You're not going to stretch those strings?" And I said, "I never really did. Why?" And he says, "What, do you like tuning your guitar more often?" And I said, "Well, that's a fair point." And we never brought it up again, and since then I've stretched my strings. And yeah, it's really one of those things. It's like, you might as well. If you're playing your guitar frequently enough that you're like worried about having to replace your strings and like maybe wearing them out faster, stretching your strings is not going to cause a huge difference in like, oh, I have to get a new set of strings soon. It's like, if you're playing your guitar enough anyway, you'll need to get a new set of strings, so whatever. Let's see. It's actually pretty fucking solid on that. I'm a little worried that the first fret's gonna buzz. Let's see. Okay, it's definitely like a hair low, but that's actually a lot better than I was expecting. So I'm just gonna loosen this up just a smidge, just a hair. And honestly, I'm not gonna do really too much more else to that, as long as the neck is not too out of whack. Okay. That should, yep, just enough relief. There's a fucking, you know, sometimes these things will surprise you. Also, I'm tired of these. Just get rid of them. I want to make sure these actually go in the trash can. Okay. Let's see. Sometimes they have a little issue with the neck pocket being aligned, but that one seems to be pretty good. Nice. Yeah, some of those saddles definitely could come up a hair, but I'm not super worried. Is it this guy? Are you the right size? It's about the right size. That's good. I'll just bring them up like a little, just a little bit, because you might as well while you're here. And I'm assuming this fretboard is probably like a 9.5 radius, something like that. I'm not super worried about it right now, mostly just because this thing was so out of whack that this is still an immense improvement over how it was. One other thing with these is I generally will get them like 95 to 97% of the way there. This will now set up just fine, like I'm sure of it. That being said, when you ship a guitar, it pretty much always needs a setup, regardless of how well set up it was before. And some people will disagree with that point, but it just depends on where it's going and how far it's going. Being in Colorado, guitars come out here all the time that are made elsewhere. Indonesia, China, Mexico, Taiwan, wherever, you name it. Even US-made guitars have this issue where it just goes from one climate to another and the guitar just doesn't know what the hell to do. So stuff will twist, warp, crack, that kind of stuff. It's not as much of a huge issue on older guitars, but generally this thing is still going to need some intonation work done, just because of the fact that it's coming from Colorado, a very, very dry climate, to likely somewhere that isn't a dry climate. Alright. It's almost like you have to tune a guitar after you adjust the saddle height. Yeah. I'm not a particularly fantastic player, but I play enough. I'm happy with that. Let's see, throw this bad bitch back on. Glad I didn't have to mess with the tension on that. That is nice. I think I put this away too soon. That happens. Something's making noise. Whatever. Throw this back plate back on. I am glad that these are actually the same screws. For a second I thought maybe they were slightly different, but these seem to be identical to the pickguard screws, so that's nice. I hate when like a guitar has like a million different screws depending on like, you know, like which panel and like wherever the damn thing is. It's like just pick like a couple, like one or two different types of screws and then like stick with it, you know? Don't overcomplicate things. Keep your build simple enough that most anyone can parse it. That is, goddamn, more or less ready to go with some boring intonation shit that I will end up doing, but I'm not going to bother doing for this video, but just to... I'm going to kill this light again because of the lack of outlets. You know what, I could probably route this amp over to that outlet over there. I'll probably do that for the next video. But, plug it into where that was plugged in. A little PV Decade. Love this as a bench amp. I know people go kind of nuts for the PV Decade right now. I'm a big PV fan personally. But, you know, they're really... I paid $15 for it. It's a great fucking amp for $15. Don't pay $200 for this thing. Butchering money for nothing, but whatever. Yeah, the saturation channel on this is pretty cool, but like, you definitely got to be a little careful with it. It's just that's right. I should probably adjust the pickup height on this guy. Luckily, it's not too far off. It is still a little bit annoying that the screws on the pickup, on all of these pickups are, they're beveled. But the pick guard doesn't accommodate for a beveled edge. It's a little frustrating. Unfortunately, I was looking around before dinner, and I don't know what happened. I had a beveled edge drill bit, but like I said, I just recently moved, so a lot of that stuff is just MIA right now, so that's just going to have to be how it is, which is fine. Frankly, I'd much rather the cleaner pick guard than the old crap one. But yeah, that's gonna be more or less it, I think. We might as well. How's the volume on that for each of those? Take it down just a hair. Yeah, pickups could sound a little better, but honestly, for what this guitar is, it's pretty solid. Kind of can't go wrong if you need some single coils. It's not like a Telly where it's going to be quacky, but you know, it's got a little bit of that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna kill this GoPro and we'll switch over and do like a little final thoughts thing. Well, I think this is pretty much good to go at this point. It's still a little rough around the edges, and probably wipe it off a little bit more because fingerprints from oil and crap like that. And, you know, there's a few areas that could certainly use maybe a little bit more attention. But I'm pretty happy with this for the most part. I think considering how far along this has come, how messed up this was when we first started working on it, I'm much, much happier with this. As far as like my thoughts on this guitar, not much has changed from what I've talked about. I think these are really solid for the money. Really great mod project bass. I think if you don't have a ton of money and you are looking for a decent vintage guitar, these Squier's E-Series guitars are really solid. Really good option. You kind of can't go wrong. Well, I've had a couple of these that have been hit and miss. Most of the time they've been hit, but like you just kind of never know, because like, you know, a modern budget brand guitar, a lot of these got picked up and forgotten about. They got picked up and were the guitar that got left on literally the floor or in a closet or in a basement without a case, you know, not even on a stand. They leaned up against a corner or whatever, and they got, you know, caked in dust for years. So I think if you can find one that hasn't been too heavily abused, it's worth an investment. You know, I think I paid like $100 for this thing. And at the end of the day, I've probably, you know, put, you know, a little bit of labor into this thing, and I'm happy with the results. I think as far as players go, I don't necessarily think it's much of a keeper for me personally, because I've just seen so many damn guitars come and go. Yeah, one of the things with a lot of these guitar flips and you know, picking stuff up to fix it up, you get really good about redundant gear and trying not to hoard stuff. I basically have 5 keeper instruments, 4 main ones, and then like I've got a bass, I've got 3 guitars, electric guitars, and then I have 1 acoustic, and the acoustic's like an heirloom, so I don't play the acoustic much, but I keep it. So I've got like 4 guitars that are my keepers and players, and they each kind of do one thing really well, which makes them hard to replace. So does this replace any of those or add something that those can't already do? Not really. This would be filed underneath redundant gear. However, for a Strat, really solid for what it is. Fairly impressed with the build quality on a few things here. The neck mostly. The body, like I showed you earlier, it's plywood. Don't worry about it. But if you can get one of these and say the body's trashed, but the neck is in great shape, pick one up for the neck and throw it on like another Strat body that's in nicer shape, and you'll have like a nice, cool, vintage style looking thing. You know, let's say E9, which obviously the made in Korea, this is not necessarily an 89. It's just that series got a lot of that. There's a lot of mysterious serial number crap when it comes to Squier from around that era. Anyway, this guitar, solid as hell. Electronics work great. Neck is straight. Action's lower than expected and quicker than expected. I'm going to do some final little tweaks and just sort of see if I can't get the intonation dialed in a little bit more, and then it's pretty much just going to go up for sale. So you'll see this guitar probably in my Reverb store if it hasn't already sold. There's a link to that as well as the other things in my Reverb store in the description below. So you can check that out. Check out what I've got for sale. Pick it up. I'll get it shipped out quick if you'd like. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I know it's been kind of an interesting change in format, and I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you guys think of all of this in the comments below. Let me know if you love it. Let me know if you hate it. Yeah, thank you all so much again for the support. Genuinely very much appreciated. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching again, and we will see you on the flip side.